And what we're talking about today, this is European Union funding grants and Accelerator. And with us we have is Ian Scarffe. And Ian is a funding expert with that works with the European Union Commission, right? Correct?
An independent expert,
yeah. And so he's going to be talking to us today about kind of if you want this money that's available, how do we get it, right? That's kind of what we're going into. And Ian's going to have a little presentation, and then we'll also he's going to talk a little bit, and then we're going to have kind of a Q&A, an opportunity for the audience to ask Ian some questions, and we'll go from there. So Ian, I'm gonna turn the time over to you, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So generally, the funding's been set up as part of the Horizons 2020. It's set up to fund startups, projects, SMEs. They haven't set any particular theme of industry or what have you. There's two phases of the funding. One's the first phase from €500,000 up to €2.5 million. And that's a non-refundable grant, so you don't have to repay that. And then there's a further up to 15 million equity investment if the companies are looking for that. That's generally it. How it looks like. Of course, we can help companies apply for that with my business partner Maro as well. He was on your last session as well. I've got a video I prepared for another event. I'd just like to show that. It's only a short one for 4 minutes or what have you, and then I can flick into any questions anyone might have.
Sounds good. Perfect. Go ahead and share your screen, Ian, and we'll go from there. And please, to the audience, utilize this chat here that we have in Zoom. You don't have to wait until the end. If you have questions for Ian, go ahead and put them here in the chat. I'm going to do my very, very best to get to as many questions as we can, and before we move on.
Biggest European Union research and innovation program ever, with nearly €80 billion of funding. In addition to the private investment that this money will attract, it promises more breakthroughs, discoveries, and world firsts by taking great ideas to the market. Seen as a means to drive economic growth and create jobs, the goal is to ensure Europe produces world-class business, removes barriers to innovation, and makes it easier for the public and private sectors to work together in delivering innovation. There is a lack of finance for startups and projects in Europe, with an estimated total equity funding gap of about €70 billion. Many European startups can't find high-risk capital needed to get to the stage where private sector investors get involved. This is what is driving this new initiative and accelerator program. For projects, startups and small to medium-sized enterprise, funding is available in both non-refundable grants from €500,000 to €2.5 million and further possible equity investments of up to €15 million. The program supports top-class innovators, entrepreneurs, small companies and scientists with bright ideas and the ambition to scale up internationally. A total amount of around €3 billion will be provided to fund the most talented innovators and help their companies scale up and expand beyond European borders. Easier access, easier application process, less reporting, shorter time for grant approval and quicker payments. Horizon 2020 is open to everyone with a simple structure that reduces red tape and time so participants can focus on what is really important. Now is the time to take advantage of this opportunity and access to funding. The EIC Innovation Programme and Accelerator is meant to remedy the funding problem through a combination of grants, high-risk equity investments and one-off cash prizes for companies. Supporting European Union companies to grow and scale up operation. Grants up to €4 million for early-stage tech development, and the Accelerator, which offers grants up to €2.5 million and equity investments of up to €15 million for companies trying to scale. supporting ideas to investment and cutting the red tape. Companies can apply for money and investment as small companies with big visions. The fund is for startups, projects and small to medium enterprise in the European Union and other agreed countries. Funding is available €500,000 up to €2.5 million as a seed investment, and further up to €15 million equity in company. Application will be assessed by independent experts based on their potential for future social or economical impact or market creation and the company's business plan and pitch. Companies could be awarded grant-only funding from €500,000 up to €2.5 million as a seed investment, and a grant plus equity up to €15 million equity investment for each company. The program has been a huge success. 240 companies have been funded with up to €2.5 million each. €731 million has been awarded. Thank you for your attendance. Feel free to contact Ian Scarffe for more details and to receive an information pack and application process documents.
So that's generally what it's all about.
Okay.
As I said, it can be for UK companies as well. UK and Europe, and there are 17 other countries that can apply.
Now, let's say, I'll start the Q&A with some of my own questions, and then hopefully we'll get some more questions in from the audience. But let's say you have a company that has a couple of partners in the EU, but also several partners that are outside the EU. How would this program handle that? Would they still be eligible as long as the company is maybe incorporated in the EU, or how would that work?
Yeah, good question. We are working with other companies that don't have a presence in Europe, and we can help them set up companies here and then apply for the funding for that company to grow within Europe. So it could be a back office or a technical support or something like that.
So you're saying that even, let's just say, someone's located in Hong Kong, but you would be able to help them set up, a presence in the EU. That's fantastic.
That's right. Yeah.
So you don't even have to be in Europe. Fantastic. So the next question, and again, audience, this is your opportunity to ask whatever questions might be on your mind. Just drop them there in the chat, and I'll be sure to ask them to Ian. What kinds of projects are we really looking for? I mean, I think that we heard in the video, projects that have economic and social impact, but what kind of projects are being looked at more closely? I mean, for instance, there's someone might come to you and say, well, I have an idea for a restaurant chain that's extremely social, it's or something like that, but maybe that's not as fundable because it's, the restaurant business is low margins, high risk versus technology, which is highly scalable. What kind of projects is the European Union really looking to fund?
They haven't really said what industries and what have you they're looking for. I guess it would be aimed more as tech and ones that can scale up. But but what I'm doing with my business partner, we're doing a free assessment on the companies, so they can apply through us and send us the company details, and then we can do a free assessment to see if the company would qualify or be suitable for the funding, and then we help them apply for that funding. So there is some sort of gate, and that's through Maro, who's he's on the board of the he's a jury member on the EIC fund.
Excellent.
So he knows what to look for.
Now, the first question came in from Mike here, and he says, "What's the contact details?" Ian, would you go ahead and put your contact information there in the chat, just your email address?
Yeah,
but also,
sure.
Would it be okay if the audience wanted to reach out to you on LinkedIn or Maro on LinkedIn? Would that be appropriate?
Sure.
All right, excellent. So, audience, if you want to connect with Ian, go ahead and he's going to put his email here in the chat, but also feel free to connect with him on LinkedIn and get the conversation started. So the next question was from Alex. Did the bureaucratic hurdles increase for UK companies after Brexit? That's not, I'm interested also.
Oh, sorry.
That's a good question.
Can you say that again?
So Alex is asking, did the bureaucratic hurdles increase for UK companies after Brexit?
There is a regulation for UK companies. They can only apply at the moment for the first phase, which is the grant only money up to 2. They're not able to apply for the equity investment.
Okay, that's good clarification. That's a good question, Alex. Next question is from Sonia. Which types of companies can benefit from seeding? And I'm assuming that she means seed funding. So maybe a better way to ask that question might be, what does a seed round really? What does a company looking for a seed round have to look like to be of interest to this program? If that makes sense.
You have to, yes, sure. You have to have more than just an idea. So you have to be technology ready. So it would have to be a company with a small team, I guess, a website and something that's scalable.
Something that's scalable. Okay.
It's not really a seed investment. It's just the first phase of the funding. It's not seed as you would perceive that in an investment round. It's just that's what I've called it, but it really is just a first round of funding. It doesn't need to be seed or pre-seed or pre-revenue. It can be any sort of stage.
Okay, so not necessarily slapping labels on it. It really just, it's project to project.
Sure.
So got it. Also, by the way, I probably should have mentioned this before LinkedIn, right? But BizzTech actually offers a platform for matchmaking. So feel free to reach out to Ian on BizzTech for this event. Reach out, maybe set up a meeting with him. Let's see here. Still waiting on some questions here from the audience. My next question would actually be, is there a size limit to what this program's looking for? Let's say I'm a company with 500 employees and we are already generating $100 million in revenue. If we came and said, hey, we're looking for further investment, what does that look like?
No, it's only set up for SMEs, so small startups, interesting projects, innovative projects, and SMEs. It can't be anything greater than that. So
excellent.
It has to be an SME. And the only other question that people might tend to ask is what's the timeline look like? I mean, we are very busy at the moment. We're processing a lot of customers, especially after the COVID problems. And then there are deadlines with the European Union. So there's one, I think, coming up in August or September. And then that they've just been awarded some more money as well, the fund itself, to support such startups. But there are deadlines that come up every now and again. So, and for the European Union for us to present it to them, the application, and for them to pitch it to them, and for them to approve it, is anywhere from 4 or 5 weeks plus.
4 or 5 weeks plus. Okay, that's very good. I'm glad you brought that up. Got a couple more questions in here from the audience now. From Oliver, is there a certain risk appetite for other companies setting up in the EU and taking advantage of the funding?
I'm not sure if I really understand. Is there a certain risk appetite for other companies?
Yeah. So yeah, Oliver, maybe if you could elaborate on that just a little bit there in the chat. But the question that was asked again is there a certain risk appetite for companies setting up in the EU to take advantage of the funding? My guess is that what does the risk appetite look like from the European Union's perspective? How risky is too risky?
I couldn't really tell you that. It'd have to come from the European Union itself, or perhaps Mara or someone like that that's more closely associated with the people who are looking at the projects.
Okay. So maybe Oliver, maybe you know, get on the BizzTech platform and see if you can set up a meeting with Ian tomorrow, and maybe get that question.
It's coming now. For those who work in higher risk industries, I'm still not sure what that means.
That's all right. It sounds like it might be a good question for tomorrow. So I would say, you know, maybe try to get a meeting set up with him.
Yeah.
Next question is from Mike. In our case, we're building a solution for the world's lack of financial inclusion of, you know, some 2 billion. We are a UK company, but we'll launch the service in Africa. Would we qualify?
If it's a UK company, then it would qualify to apply. And as I said, we
Ian, I lost you there for a second. Your connection cut out. Ian, we missed that answer. Your connection cut out for a minute. You wanna say that again?
Yeah, sure. So we can do the free assessment for that company. They can apply because they're from the UK, and then we could let them know if it was credible for funding proposition before they went to the European Union Commission.
Okay, excellent. So I actually came up with another question while we're waiting for more from the audience here. But yeah, in the video you mentioned that the fund, or the amount of money that they're looking to invest, is somewhere in the vicinity of 70, 80 billion euros. Is that correct?
Yes.
So my next question is that it? Is that the limit to the amount of funds that'll be invested, or are they still trying to bring in other investors to bring that number higher?
No, they are looking to bring in other investors as well, and that's the idea of the equity rounds. They're bringing in other investors to co-invest with the European Union.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
They're trying to become let's say the VC of Europe. There are some articles I've written on my website and things like that, so people might want to have a read of that. But they're trying to become the VC of Europe, which I think is ideal, because they're, you know, the smaller companies and the startups and SMEs, they have trouble finding the high risk capital, and that's what this fund is all. It's basically set up for, to help them with that high risk capital.
That's fantastic. I really like that concept. Next question is from Vikas. I hope I'm saying that right. We're a startup offering ethics on AI, making tech responsible. Would we also qualify? At the moment, we're also UK based. So, you know, I don't want to speak for Ian, but it sounds like since you're a UK company, you probably would qualify. It's just going to come down to having that assessment with you, Ian, right?
That's right. Sure.
Excellent. So yeah, go ahead and set up a meeting with Ian on BizzTech, and we'll go from there. Let's see. I think okay. Are non-EU Balkan countries eligible?
Yes, they are. If you send me an email, I'll send you a list of their 17 other countries that can apply for that fund.
Excellent. Okay, so 17 non-EU companies or countries.
Yes.
Excellent. In your recent experience, I mean, what kind of projects have you seen, or I guess could you give us some examples of projects that you've seen accepted that have come through your assessment first? And you know, if anything's under a non-disclosure, of course, no details.
Well, most of them are under non-disclosure. If the guys want to have a look at my LinkedIn profile, I'll put a few links on there of companies that were funded. One of them was AI.
Okay.
And also another medical device as well. So that's two of them that were funded recently that are publicly in the public space.
Excellent. Okay.
Have a look
so
at
AI,
my
medical devices.
on there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. So I would say it sounds like there's still probably a lot of diversity in the kind of projects that are being accepted.
That's right.
So very good. To the audience, any more questions? I would say we've probably, you know, we can wrap things up here in about the next 5-10 minutes or so. Anything else while we have Ian on here?
Maybe the video explained everything.
Hey, the video was pretty solid. Actually, could you drop the link to that video here in the chat as well? I'm sure that the audience would love to be able to go and look at that on their own later.
Sure.
Another great question from Vikas. Is the EU focusing on responsible AI?
Yeah, they haven't set any theme, or they haven't set any sort of guidelines on what they're looking for. And I guess it's more or less, I mean, if the companies did apply and they were successful, you'd have to go to the EU and pitch it there as well. So if you have a good story and a good pitch, and it's something that you can justify why you need the funding for, then it would be up to the jury team to decide on that.
Excellent. I actually have a question. So historically, there have been some companies that have gotten their start in the EU, but eventually moved their operations out of the EU to the US. One example that I can think of that's a high growth startup was Zendesk. Zendesk started it, I think, in the Netherlands, and then eventually they moved their operations to Silicon Valley. How would the EU handle a company that got their start in the program in the EU, but then a few years later decides, actually, we're heading to the US? How would that be handled?
Excuse me. I can't answer for the EU, but I guess from my perspective, the idea of the fund is to help companies set up here with growth potential. And I agree. I guess if that involves them moving, then I guess the EU could claim fame to that as well.
Okay.
Of course, the fund's not set up to fund the company and then they run off and set up somewhere else. The idea behind it would be to set up companies in Europe, fund them, and then and employ people here and grow the company out within Europe and internationally, but I guess basically focusing on EU as a base would be ideal.
Excellent. I like that answer. We do have another question here from Alex. Thanks, yeah. Alex. How much effort is it to apply in terms of paperwork, hours during the week? As I experienced here in Vienna for local funds, the position of grant management had to be shared and to manage the 100-hour workload in a week. What's your experience?
Sure. My experience with the Horizons 2020 fund itself, previously to this one, there was a lot of red tape. And a lot of man hours would have had to go on into the preparation of the application. And this one has been set up to cut all that red tape. So the application process is not so complex, and they're trying to decide on the funds quicker than the other Horizons 2020 programs. So this is what we do. We help companies apply for that funding. They provide us with the basic information, and then we package it up, and then we submit the application on their behalf and work with the EU to gain those funds for them. So they can come through us and we can help them do it, or they can just go to the EIC fund themselves and apply there. That's what we offer as a service. And I guess how complex that would be depending on where the company is, if it already has a business plan, a financial model, and if it has the required documents that the EU needs. And if it has those already, then it will be much quicker and easier to prepare.
Excellent. Hope that answers your question, Alex. I have a question for me or my perspective. Business plans, a lot of different versions of business plans out there. Some business plans are small and fluid, they're maybe 10 pages long. And there's other, some are more like 30 or 40 pages. And then of course, the traditional business plan that you send to the bankers, right, can be up to 100 pages. What kind of length of business plan are we looking for funding like this?
I think it's the EU has its own sort of guidelines, and I think it's something like a 30-page business plan that we help them prepare and then lodge that with the fund. So, and then there are guidelines to follow on that as well.
So a company that wants to apply for this, they don't necessarily have to have that business plan perfect and ready to go. You're going to help consult with them and say, hey, this is what they're looking for. This is how they're structuring it. Okay, so
we help
guys
them
got to set up a meeting with Ian here. Got to get if you're looking for funding, got to get this thing moving. Same thing, same question, I guess, for pitch deck, right? I mean, pitch decks can be
That's
5
right.
pages, or I've seen some in the gaming industry. Personally, I've seen some pitch decks that are 40 or 50 pages because they're really trying to show off the artwork or the mechanics or the storyline. What's ideal for this program?
As I said, the European Union have got their own sort of guidelines, and I believe it's something like 30-page one, and they're structured in the way that you there are sections of it where you can pitch the most valuable asset of that business, and I guess they've done that in a way that they're not having to read the 100-page business plans so it is structured, and we help them structure that as well with Maro, his company.
Excellent. Yeah, I got a chance to host Maro in the last one, and he's a sharp guy, man. So I'm sure that between the two of you, you have it down pretty well. So yeah, nobody wants to read a 100-page business plan. Yeah, I don't even think banks really want to read 100-page business plans anymore.
No. And I think they're tending to go towards the lean startup and the lean model now anyway. So
absolutely,
even more just getting to the point quite quickly.
Excellent. Great answers. Audience, any more questions here? If I'm going to give it maybe another minute or so, and if not, I think we can probably wrap up this webinar. And please, if you have more deeper, in-depth questions, or you actually want to try and apply for this stuff, get on the BizzTech Connect site, set up a meeting with Ian or Maro, and get the ball rolling. Because it's that's what they're here for. They want to work with you.
We do have a very big backlog at the moment, but we are trying to process them as fast as we can. So.
Excellent. Any more questions from the audience? All right. Excellent. We are ready. Yes. I love that, Mike. I love that. How big is the backlog if we plan a meeting?
The meetings I can normally do. I can do a meeting, more or less pretty quick. But the actual the backlog is now I think something like 100 companies that we personally are processing now.
Excellent. So a lot of competition. You guys got to move. Excellent. Well, Ian, thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this, for taking your time, putting your presentation together. And I know that you've done a lot of work with Dirk behind the scenes as well. So I appreciate you being here, and looking forward to working with you more in the future.
Perfect. Thanks very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime. And to the audience, again, reach out to Ian, meet up with them, get it rolling. Yeah, you got clapping hands from Sonia. I agree. It's really an excellent program. All right. Thank you, everyone. Don't miss here in about 30 minutes. We have our very last webinar for the event, and it's going to be essentially future of FinTech, future FinTech jobs. So don't miss that. You should have the link to that in your email. And until then, take care, everyone.
Thank you very much.
See you, Ian. Great to meet you, man.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise.